is the Monday, November 24 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Week 12 of the NFL season officially wraps up tonight. Carolina, San Francisco, the Panthers have a chance to be in first place in the NFC South by the end of tonight. How crazy does that sound? But a crazy NFL Sunday around the NFL, a lot of nail-biting games, some comebacks, including in the LA window, the game of the week for the NFL, Cowboys and Eagles. Cowboys coming back from down 21 points, scoring 24 unanswered to win that game. We will talk about most of these games, some situations, and more here on the show today. Let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, what is going on? Your Baltimore Ravens are in first place in the AFC North.
Didn't take too long, right? Shout out Aaron Rodgers taking the game off there, really helping us out a little bit. But you know what, Ari, that's just one of the many divisions right now that are really getting tight. Like, we've got a few right now. I mean, none quite as tight as that, with two teams being 6-5. Well, I guess there's another 6-5 duo down in the NFC South now, if you watched any of that Buccaneers game. Division battles, though, I mean, they're getting close. So, like, what are you making of some of these division races? Which are the ones you've got a particularly tight eye on? Lay it out for us.
I mean, first of all, I have to go back and check on this, but like, I don't remember the last time that we had this many divisions that were this tight. I mean, usually at this point of the year, there's at least one division that is a blow away. It's not even close. I guess maybe it's the AFC East right now, but I don't know if that's for sure. And you would think it would be Buffalo, not New England. So it is crazy the way this year has unfolded so far. And I look at some of these divisions and just how close they are. The NFC North, for example, Bears 8-3, Packers 7-3-1, Detroit 7-4. The NFC West, you have the 9-2 Rams, you have the 8-3 Seahawks, you have the 49ers playing tonight. Obviously, we mentioned the NFC South before. The Buccaneers are now 6-5. The Panthers all of a sudden could have first place in that division by the end of tonight. The AFC South, in my opinion, is the most fascinating one to me of all of these, just because the Colts lose on Sunday. They're now 8-3 on the year. The Jaguars squeak out a win in Arizona. They're 7-4. The Texans are now 6-5 on the year after winning on Thursday night with Davis Mills for a third straight game beating the Buffalo Bills. How about this? The Indianapolis Colts, who have been on top of this division all year long, the rest of their schedule is against teams over 500 every single game the rest of the year. That is the Texans next week, then the Jaguars, Seahawks, 49ers, Jaguars, Texans. They still have to face the Jaguars and Texans twice. I think that division has a chance to flip over here by the end of the year. I like the Colts. Big fan of them. Love what they're doing this year. Big trade for Sauce Gardner. Daniel Jones, obviously a big year for him. But when you look at the wins they've had this year, they beat Miami. They beat Tennessee twice. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Falcons. Like, they have some, the impressive wins are the Broncos game, which they could have easily lost. That was the game with the field goal penalty, 15 yards. It was a leverage play back in week 2. And then they have a win over the Chargers. Aside from that, they don't really have any crazy impressive wins this year. And that's why the rest of this schedule, the rest of the year, becomes so interesting to me in the AFC South. And a team to watch in my mind is the Jaguars, who still have to face the Titans twice. They still have a game versus the Jets as well. And of course, the Colts twice over here as well. And again, Texans, they get CJ Stroud back. That defense, we saw what they did to Josh Allen on Thursday night. I think that division over here could get very interesting the rest of the way over here this season. But really, when you look around the NFL, we didn't mention the AFC North really much over here. That as well. The Ravens starting 1-5, now winning 5 straight games, getting to 6-5. And of course, thanks to the Steelers losing on Sunday in Chicago, Mason Rudolph starting. They both have a 6-5 record. The Ravens have the edge over them right now because they have a better divisional record, but both these teams down the stretch are going to play each other twice, including in week 18 to end the year. So I feel the way this year is going right now, with the remaining schedules of some of these teams, the Packers and Bears have not played yet this year. They have to play 2 more times. The Lions and Bears have to play 1 more time over here. But a lot of these situations, they have not played at all. And we laid out some of it over here Colts and Jaguars, Colts and Texans. They have not played yet this year at all. So all of those situations and how it's all going to unfold over here, this is going to be a really, really exciting the stretch of the NFL season. And again, I'll have to look back at previous years, but for me, I don't remember the last time we've had this many divisions like this going into the stretch run of the year, going into week 13, into Thanksgiving. It's been a really, really fun year watching these divisions over here. And we'll see what happens here tonight, of course, with the Panthers and Bucks playing. The Panthers playing for a chance to take over first place in the NFC South over the Bucks.
Are of these divisions that we kind of mentioned that are like the tight ones right now, do you imagine there are any where you could see one team kind of pulling away from the rest and then suddenly this conversation we just had is a little bit of a moot point? Say, maybe my Ravens?
First of all, the Panthers and Bucks play I mentioned before, they still have not played this year. They have 2 more games this year. So a lot of those situations where the NFL, for whatever reason, saved those matchups till the end of the year, like usually you get one beginning of year, one end of the year. Like a lot of that, I don't know what the reason behind it is. We have to ask the NFL schedule makers. But in terms of the divisions over here, it's like interesting to me because I don't feel like I could confidently say that any of these divisions are a lock. Like, I don't even want to say the NFC East is a lock yet, as crazy as that might be.
Yeah.
Like, would you say that? Like, the Eagles right now are 8-3. The Cowboys are 5-1. They don't play each other anymore. But the Eagles offense, like, I have some questions. Like, I hate this. Like, I do. Like, it was a great start to the game on Sunday versus the Cowboys. In the last 41 minutes of game time in that game, 0 points, fumbles, punting the ball away, and the Cowboys were able to come back. And we look at the Eagles schedule. They have the Bears on Friday, Black Friday, then the Chargers. I mean, let's see how they're able to do in those 2 games. The Cowboys have a hard schedule as well. They have the Chiefs,
Lions, Chargers.
So, yeah, I mean, it's probably that division. But at the same time, I always say the stat, Ben. You know the stat. It's been 20 straight years of no consecutive division winners in the NFC East. So crazier things have happened here in the NFL, and we'll see what ends up happening here. But the division that I would pick probably to have the best chance of, separating themselves is probably the Patriots in the AFC East and the Eagles in the NFC East. But everything else, even the AFC West, where the Broncos have a little bit of comfortable lead, like you never know. Like, what if the Broncos lose a couple games here? You still have to face the Chiefs down the stretch as well. Like, there's a lot of stuff here that could definitely happen, which is great for all football fans.
Well, and you and I were messaging back and forth, like whether there's really dominant teams right now in the NFL. And like, you're a big fan of the Rams, but no one's saying the Rams are a lock right now to even, eat out the Seahawks because all
We
they
still
take
have
is a loss or two and suddenly everything's flipped.
They still have to face each other over here. I believe it's a Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken, in Seattle. So that's another one over here. The Rams still have to face the Lions this year, but the Rams, when you look at their schedule overall, it definitely becomes very favorable. The remaining schedule here includes games with Arizona twice, Atlanta. So, yeah, I mean, there's opportunities here for them to take this over, but they still have to face Seattle one more time over here. So this is why I find the entire NFL landscape right now of how close these teams are and how the schedule is projecting to end up over here, that we could have a lot of these games going down to the wire here late in the year.
Rams scored 30 points once in their first 6 games of the season. They have now scored 30 plus in 3 of their last 4 games. That is a team to definitely keep a tight eye on. All right, we got to get to some more stuff here, Ari. Let's talk about one of those teams right now that are trying to make a little bit of a push for the division, because we were just talking about them a second ago here, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. Overcoming a 21-point deficit, they didn't score until the last 2 minutes of the first half, second quarter overall. From there, we saw a lot of fireworks, I'd say, out of some of the Cowboys players there in the second half, making it back to be that 24-21 win on a Brandon Aubrey field goal. What do you make of these 2 games, or these 2 teams in this matchup? Because suddenly you've got 2 teams that are very different, with a high, powered offense and the Cowboys and their defense being so, and suddenly the Eagles being the flip, the inverse of that. But I mean, hell, we just saw this game right now. Who knows what we know? What do you think of what's going on in the NFC East?
I mean, first of all, like ever, there was obviously the tragedy in Dallas with one of their players, Marshawn Nealand, who unfortunately took his own life, and that had a big effect on this locker room. I mean, you could see that it was during their bye week, and you feel like the togetherness of this locker room, they really, really got close. And of course, the NFL trade deadline was also around that same time. That's when they got a couple of players here with a Quinn Williams and a Logan Wilson, and they got the Marius Overshown back from IR, and Shavon Rebel, their rookie, is back, and they're getting all these different players, and all of a sudden their defense here has kind of become a completely different unit compared to what it was early on this year. It's a small sample size, but when you look at rushing yards allowed, points allowed, like everything has gone down over here over these last couple of weeks for Dallas over here. Really, obviously started off real quick over here with Philadelphia scoring points, 21 points in basically the first quarter, a little bit more than that. But from then on, they held them to 0 points the rest of the game. And whenever the defense is able to just give you above average play, which is what I kept on saying all year about the Cincinnati Bengals when, in the offseason, training camp, I was like, listen, when you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, just give us above average defensive play, you'll be fine. That same concept fits with the Dallas Cowboys, with what Dak Prescott's able to do and what CD Lamb and, of course, George Pickens and Jake Ferguson and Javonte Williams, who was one of the value signings of the offseason, and what he's been able to do. You can make an argument like maybe they should have retained, I guess, Rico Dowdle over him, but Javonte has been really good as well for this team. And if they're able to get that out of their defense, their offense will be able to do just enough. And of course, they have arguably, and I would say the best kicker in football, was able to hit from 60 plus. I think he had his first real miss of the year in this game. But aside from that, you trust him every single game of year to be able to do whatever it takes. So I look at this team. I think they still have a legitimate shot over here at making the playoffs. We mentioned it before. The schedule is definitely not an easy one, but I think they can hang in there with virtually every single team here in the NFL of the way this offense is able to play. And George Pickens, he put together a really, really nice article, letter, whatever you want to call it, in the Players Tribune, talking about his path and his journey. His mother is involved in the article a lot. He loves Dallas. He fits in Dallas. Him and Dak, him and CD. It just fits so perfectly, and I really hope this does not become a whole saga eventually, the way other situations have become. Obviously, people probably know by now, but George Pickens is in the final year of his contract, slated to become a free agent. His agent is the same agent as Micah Parsons' agent. So all of that becomes really interesting, but he fits in Dallas so well. The chemistry that he has with Dak Prescott is exceptional. And this offense is a really, really fun offense to watch. And when the defense is able to do what they're doing with Quinn Williams and Osa Digizua and Kenny Clark and some of these younger guys on the team who have really, really been coming through over here. I hate to say, I don't want to say hate to say, but I think Jerry Jones deserves some credit for some of the moves that he was able to make over here, because they're paying off. And I think it starts with the one thing that he got the most criticism. The Brian Schottenheimer hire as head coach has actually worked out really well. The players respond to him really well. The locker room videos after every game, I don't know who iron people watch that, but it's up there as one of the more entertaining ones, with the way the players respond and the energy that he gives off. Gives you a little bit of Pete Carroll vibes when you watch it. And of course, Shouty was with Pete Carroll for a while in Seattle. So love that hire. The move that they made, the Micah Parsons thing will always be questioned, but the players they've been able to add over here and the value signings they were able to make as well, the George Pickens trade, of course, the Javonte Williams signing, some of the trades that they've made, like there are some pieces here on this team where it's like, okay, this team could actually compete. So we'll see where they go. We'll see what happens on Thursday. It's the middle game on Thanksgiving. I posted this earlier on Sunday. I think that's going to be the most watched NFL regular season game ever at 4:25 on Thanksgiving, with the Chiefs and the Cowboys, both teams coming off comeback wins, very much alive in their respective conferences. So that will be a really, really fun game. And I don't think the Cowboys are out of it. You look at the standings right now in the NFC. Obviously, we have the 49ers and Panthers coming up of the year tonight, and that kind of affects all of this. But right now, they sit at number 10 in the conference. But if San Francisco loses here tonight, that could definitely help them over here. And it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. But if they're able to go on a little bit of a run over here, this is a team that could put up points against anybody, and that is definitely something to watch over here down the stretch.
My light just fell and tried to attack me. So forgive me if you just mentioned this, but we're all in agreement that George Pickens was the best trade of the offseason, right?
Wow, you're gonna make my head think a little bit. It's
Okay.
definitely
Dramatic. Let's just ignore it. Great trade for him, right?
great trade for them. But if you didn't hear what I was saying, Ben, because your light fell apparently, I did say that his agent is the same agent as Micah Parsons' agent, and that situation could get really interesting. So until he gets paid, which is the most important part, and he's part of the long-term plans, this trade is incomplete still. So you don't want this to be a one-year rental. You don't want this to be a franchise tag situation where George Pickens is upset. So that's the other part about all of this. And believe me, Ben, Jerry Jones loves the franchise tag. He's used it many, many times over the years. So, and I don't think George wants it. We'll say it now. We'll get ahead of the curve here on the show. George does not want to get franchise tagged. He wants to get paid like every player. So we'll see what ends up happening in the offseason, but that trade has been an A of the year for Dallas.
Seems like he's fitting in all right there in Big D. Somebody who is not fitting in right now happens to be the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy is struggling. It's not an overreaction to say things are not looking good right now for the second-year quarterback in his first real season of starting. Obviously, he missed all of his rookie season. We saw him in the preseason. He looked pretty good during that time. This season, we saw him for one real good quarter in the first two games of the season. He gets hurt. He comes back. He's not looking too sharp. How are the Vikings feeling about this internally right now?
I don't think it's going really well right now. And JJ McCarthy, I watched his press conference after the game. He said all the right answers, but you could tell it looks like somebody's a little bit defeated right now. And once again, on Sunday versus the Packers, the offense just does not look like an NFL offense, considering what we've seen Minnesota offenses under Kevin O'Connell look like in the past. It's unwatchable in a way. And there was this one tweet that actually you sent me, Ben, but JJ McCarthy now ranks 851 out of 852 in EPA per dropback among qualified passers since 2000. The only person below him is Jamarcus Russell. That is not a stat you want to be associated with. And that's kind of the situation right now in Minnesota. The offense is not moving the ball. Kevin O'Connell has been trying everything and anything to give him the easy passes, get him going over here, get some rhythm over here. And that entire game versus the Packers, the defensive line was getting to him. He was not hitting his receivers. Justin Jefferson, again, I'll give him credit. He's not losing his cool completely. He's not becoming that diva receiver, but you feel like he's on the edge of doing that, even though I don't think it's going to happen. But this is a situation where I think the organization is going to have to huddle up over here and just decide what do we do over here moving forward for the rest of the season, even. I mean, I put out this tweet last week about the future of, JJ McCarthy and how it's, you look at the other quarterbacks in his draft class with Caleb and Jaden and Bo and Drake and how successful they've been so far. And look at where JJ is. He's nowhere close. A lot of Vikings fans came after me and were like, hey, he's, only started a handful of games compared to those guys. It's a bit unfair. But when you consider the fact that he has been, all the stuff that Minnesota said about him, the fact that they let Sam Darnold go, the fact that, they were okay with Daniel Jones eventually leaving, when you put all of that into context and they wanted to go all in with him, Aaron Rodgers would have been willing to go to Minnesota if he was guaranteed the starting job. And they were like, no, JJ's our guy. And this is the result. And the other part about it is that this is not a team that's been picking in the top 5, top 10 of the draft. This is a team that was playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC last year in week 18. This is a team that has a bunch of win now players. So when you make that decision that JJ is going to be our guy, and it's not going to be any of those other quarterbacks. When you have the Justin Jeffersons and you have all those defensive players from Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Josh Metellus and Harrison Smith, Brian Flores coaching the defense, and all these different players, TJ Hawkinson's, all these different players on the team. You trade for Adam Thielen before the year, giving up a 4 and a 5 and some picks the other way. When you do all of that, you're putting your eggs in the basket of JJ McCarthy doing more, and he has not done more. And I look at this remaining schedule next week, Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. How are you putting JJ McCarthy on the field in Seattle versus Mike McDonald's defense? I think that is a question that they're going to have internally over here this week, because it feels like he's rattled. It feels like there's too much going on. It feels like he needs a mental break over here and get away for a second and watch the games again. And that's what I want to watch over here this week to see if they make that decision or they roll him out again. And what happens if next week when we're recording and he does start and the same thing happens in Seattle? Like, what do you do about that situation over here in Minnesota? You could kiss the division bye-bye. They're not winning that. They're not going to be in the playoffs this year. But you look at what they have coming up over here. I think that's going to be a question over here. And yes, I do believe the entire 2026 quarterback for the Vikings, that is very much up in the air right now. I mean, I get it. He has not played much. I get it. He's had injuries. But this is a team that has a bunch of win-now players, and they cannot. The players on this roster, they don't care about your developmental stuff. They want to win right now, especially when you're a team like Minnesota, the success they've had in the past.
Well, and they're kind of in a weird spot, right? Because they're in like that no man's land. They're 4-7. They've got 4 wins, which is 2 ahead of teams like the Saints, 2 ahead of the Giants right now. You're floating around that 9 to like 11 area for the top picks goes. It's a strange place to be. I don't know if there's necessarily an easy answer as to where they're going to end up going. What is there, like, do they just keep riding with him for now? Like, what's really going to be the deal here? Just for the rest of the season, next year, who knows? But like, you got Carson Wentz is out. Like,
Max Prosper, do you want to try him out? I mean, there's a lot of excitement for him in preseason and training camp. Minnesota kid, undrafted guy. I don't know. It's something that you have to consider. I really think you have to consider it, because eventually you're kind of just beating up the kid, and eventually he loses all of his confidence. So I just don't know how you go into Seattle next week versus the Vikings, versus the Seahawks in Seattle with Christian Darrisaw, who, by the way, left this game with a foot injury, who might be out. Like, I don't know how you do that. I just don't. So that's going to be the thing I'm going to be watching this week. Do they just come up with, we'll sit him? I don't know what they're going to do, but that's the thing I'll be watching over here this week.
Well, one of the things we haven't spoken about yet was there was a legendary performance on Sunday. If you've looked at any of the NFL X accounts, we all saw greatness on Sunday, Ari. I know who I'm talking about. Cleveland Browns quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. The legend starts now, according to the NFL. 11 of 20, 209 yards, touchdown, interception against the Raiders. He was so good, they fired Chip Kelly on the other side of things with the Raiders. They just said, you know what, we can't keep up with Shedeur. We gotta let loose the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. It's obligatory. We got to talk about this. There's going to be chaos around this kid no matter what. The fist in the air at the end of the game. What are your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders and his win against the Las Vegas Raiders?
My thoughts is just, I'm not ready for what Monday morning is about to give us. I mean, everyone listening to this on Monday morning, I just think the takes, whichever way it's going to be, is going to be just so out of control. I was just happy to see Shedeur playing, having fun, Dion in the stands, watching his son. It's all a cool moment. I'm just not mentally ready for he's the franchise savior. Let him be the guy. How did they not start him earlier? How did, so many teams pass on him? Like, all these things, I'm just not ready for that conversation. You got to play against a Las Vegas Raiders team that has been really bad all year long. They won week 1 and they have only won 1 game ever since. Their defense has been, okay this year at best. The offensive line, by the way, for Cleveland, give them credit. They were outstanding this game, to the point where Shedeur, the biggest criticism he gets, that he always drifts back and starts, going back and taking sacks. He never had to do that in this game because the offensive line was so good. credit to Kevin Stefanski, who also put together a really good game plan over here in this game, getting him out there, throwing it to receivers in space, getting the blockers out there. The touchdown to Samson was a great play. And I saw a side-by-side, somebody posted this, but they ran that same play with Dylan Gabriel earlier this year, and Dylan Gabriel just put, too much air in the ball. And by the time it got to the receiver, it just didn't work out so well. Shedeur threw it quick, got to the running back, and the blockers were ready and became a touchdown. Like, those are little things where it's like, all right, maybe there's something here. We can work with this thing. But I'm not over here declaring anything. I was just happy to see Shedeur playing football, having a good game, winning a game, and the Browns will have to determine over here this week if he is still a starting quarterback or not, because Dylan Gabriel practiced on Friday, I believe, in a limited capacity after this game. Kevin Stefanski did not want to answer if, who's going to be the starting quarterback for their next game over here coming up. So that is still up in the air, but I am just now ready for the conversation that's about to happen about, oh, he's the guy and all of this. Like, I still think there is a scenario where Dylan Gabriel is back starting next week. And I just think the out of control that this thing could become, it's just not what I think the media just taking advantage of the topic, of the player, of who he is, of, the Sanders fan. It just bothers me a little bit, but that's kind of what we're signing up for. So I just knew before this game even started, Ben, if you had a terrible game, it would have been crazy. If you had a good game, it would have been crazy. There was no winning over here when it came to the media side. I just wish it's not too out of control, today here on Monday, but I already know it's going to be.
Third string quarterback won a game for the Browns. I will say, first Browns quarterback to win their first start there, their first overall start ever since 1999. Not exactly the toughest list to get past, but we wish him all the best, as we do all the players. And he at the very least is an entertaining name, and this week is going to be absolute chaos. We recommend that you listen to shows like us and maybe some other places that are a little bit more level-headed in their analysis, because you're definitely going to hear some screaming and shouting over the coming days. Is that all we got, Ari?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to talk about this Chip Kelly getting fired,
Sure.
we spoke about
Why
it.
not? Yeah.
Spoke about it a little bit 2 weeks ago when we did the hot seat episode. We said somebody's gonna be the fall guy over here in Las Vegas very soon. I believe Geno Smith was sacked 10 times on Sunday. The offensive line has been horrible. As of late, of all the injuries, Jackson Powers Johnson, Colton Miller, all these guys are getting out. This was not officially a Pete Carroll hire, for what it's worth. This was more of an organizational, like, Pete was with it. Sorry, he was with it. But if he had his choice, I think he had other people. But $6 million per year, all guaranteed for the next 3 years, that he'll pocket all of it. He'll get it. But
$18 million for 11 games?
11 games, yeah, for Chip Kelly, which listen, I was wrong about this. I thought the offense will be better. I thought the offense will be fun. I thought the offense would be electric. With all those pieces, it was not. And the Raiders are heading towards a situation where they've now fired an OC, special teams coordinator, and I don't think they're exactly done. I think we'll see what happened at the end of the year of Pete. I think that's definitely a conversation. I think Geno is likely done. I think he'll get released after the season is over, and they're going to have to bring in somebody else over here at the very minimum at OC to make things work when you have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and some of these other players that are young players who were drafted, second round, fourth round, who you expected more. And so far, we've not seen it. And for whatever reason, this did not work. We'll see who the interim is. I'm sure by the time people listen to this, there will be an official announcement on it. But for the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL, to lure him out of Ohio State, which of course won the national championship last year, to do that, and after 11 games, he's gone. I don't know if this is the end of the NFL for Chip Kelly. It probably is, right, Ben?
61 years old, I think.
He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
2 NFL head coach stints, now an OC stint. Obviously was a head coach at UCLA. He's done a lot. He's getting paid a lot of money, so good for him. But this did not work out at all.
Yeah, not at all. Maybe if Pete leaves or they fire Pete, and Antonio Pierce is still out there, right?
Antonio Pierce, by the way, said on CBS on Sunday morning that if he were the Raiders head coach, he had conversations with Mark Davis, and they would have drafted Shedeur Sanders much earlier than the 5th round. So take that for what it's worth. But that's a nice way to put a bow on this asset.
And that is going to be our Monday episode of NFL Spotlight. Make sure you guys are subscribing, watching along. We're doing live episodes now here on Wednesdays, as long as neither of us get sick. That's a nice little goal to be able to keep on. We did another live show this week. We did our trade deadline day after review, and we'll hopefully do another one. But we're going to have a special guest coming up tomorrow. We've got some exciting stuff in the works. Like always, like I said, subscribe, rate, review, turn on notifications, all that stuff. Go ahead and take us home, Ari.
Please rate, review, subscribe. We will announce who is our special spotlight guest of the week coming up tomorrow on my X page. And like Ben said, the plan moving forward, like last week, is to do a live stream every single Wednesday. That will be the official Thursday episode on your podcast feeds on YouTube and everything. But if you want to see it early, the plan is to go live on my X page every single Wednesday for the rest of this season. But that will do it here for our Monday, November 24 edition of NFL Spotlight. And we will see all of you here tomorrow morning.